Hey everyone, Max with BuzzTox here, and I am back with another Game of Thrones Season 8 preview video. HBO recently dropped a Game of Thrones Episode 2 preview video that showcases what we can expect to see in the next episode. And we see that new plot points are introduced, as well as old plot points from last episode are going to be capitalized on. But based on the looks of it, this episode is going to be categorized into two different concepts. The first concept is the political games within Winterfell. Last episode we saw Jon find out that he is a Targaryen, and he is the actual true heir to the Iron Throne. We have also seen the North and some other people of the North having a hard time accepting Daenerys as queen. And these concerns are justified, and they're concerns that people have had in previous seasons. Varys and Tyrion both know that it's very hard to control Daenerys, because sometimes she rules by emotion. And there are some people like Varys who are trying to find a way to make Daenerys listen.
You need to find a way to make her listen.
And Varys is a character who supports the best person who is meant for the realm, for the good of everyone, and right now he believes it's Daenerys. If he finds out this information that Jon is a legitimized Targaryen, he could possibly feel the same way as Sam, that Jon is a better king because he knows the power of mercy, and he didn't have to fight and conquer for his power. It was power that was just given to him because of who he is.
What is it you want exactly?
Peace. Prosperity. A land where the powerful do not prey on the powerless. And perhaps we've grown so used to horror, we assume there's no other way. The Seven Kingdoms need someone stronger than Tommen, but gentler than Stannis. A monarch who can intimidate the High Lords and inspire the people. A ruler loved by millions with a powerful army and the right family name.
And Jon in itself epitomizes breaking the wheel. Daenerys fighting across Essos and throughout Westeros demanding people to follow her is not breaking the wheel. That's what everyone has done before her. Whereas every time Jon has been given power, he's been elected. And that in itself is breaking the wheel. And I think we'll see ramifications that are going to divide Jon and Daenerys' characters. These characters are clearly in a love-lust type of relationship at this moment. And we could potentially see people losing their faith in Daenerys, while Jon questions what's the right thing to do. And the second concept that we're going to see dealt with in Winterfell is really preparing for the ultimate event, and that's when the Night King comes south. But out of these concepts, what makes the most sense is we're going to start off with the political games in Winterfell, on top of a lot of big character moments before we find out about the White Walker threat. And I think that could start off with the scene between Daenerys and Sansa. These two characters have had a very rocky road already. Daenerys knows that Sansa doesn't respect her. And it puts Daenerys in a compromising position because she is meant to be her queen. Everything Daenerys seems to say, Sansa seems to directly disagree with her. And I think in this season more than ever, we're going to see Sansa truly playing the game. She's really going to get under Daenerys' skin because she's so clever and witty. She's playing every situation in her head, so she's not surprised by anything. Much like what Littlefinger taught her. And I think much like last episode, we're going to see Sansa question every single decision Daenerys has made. And it starts with this conversation. Daenerys tells Sansa that he should never have trusted Cersei. And Sansa immediately rebuttals by saying that she shouldn't have trusted Cersei either.
He never should have trusted Cersei. You never should have either.
And I think this could be a conversation before Jaime's trial. And I think they disagree on what to do with Jaime. Daenerys is obviously in an emotional state. Jaime Lannister is the man who murdered her father. But I think in this situation, Sansa is defending Jaime. And that infuriates Daenerys. Because not only does Sansa disagree with Daenerys, Sansa is questioning Daenerys' decision making. Much like her discussion with Tyrion, Sansa brings up her hatred and disagreement for Cersei. Because at this point it seems like Sansa is the only one who understands who Cersei truly is and what she's capable of, and everyone else is just being naive to that fact. And I think that decision that Daenerys has made to trust Cersei and have her march north will affect how people feel about her and her leadership abilities. But I think there'll be many more conversations like this, and it will spiral where Sansa is going to continuously not want Daenerys as her queen. And she'll feel like Daenerys was forced upon her. Sansa never asked for Daenerys, and she's frustrated because she feels like Jon bent the knee and put himself in a compromising position, and the North in a compromising position, even though he didn't have to. And I think the key of that is that epitomizes Jon's character. Daenerys is more of a conqueror, whereas Jon is more of a peacemaker. And I think we're going to see Sansa take the last 7 seasons of everything that she's learned and apply it to this situation. She's learned the Game of Thrones from the best of people. From Cersei, from Littlefinger, and so many others. And if Sansa were to find out that Jon has a better and legitimate claim to the throne over Daenerys, Sansa would stop at nothing to make sure her brother Jon Snow sits on that throne. Because first of all, even though Sansa always undermines and questions Jon, the foundation of that is based on love. And she wants the best for him and for the North. And on top of her wanting the best for Jon, it also helps her out. If she were to politically put Jon on the throne and be king of the Seven Kingdoms, that would mean that she would get to be the Lady of Winterfell, the Queen of Winterfell, while her brother monitors the Seven Kingdoms. It would put the Starks back on the map as one of the most powerful houses in the Seven Kingdoms. So I think somehow Sansa could find out about this secret and try and conspire with some characters, and my pick is Varys. I think Varys and Sansa would be the two perfect characters to work together to try and put Jon on the throne and do everything necessary to make that happen. And that could be one of the reasons why Varys will die in Westeros.
Swear this to me, Varys. If you ever think I'm failing the people, you won't conspire behind my back. You'll look me in the eye as you have done today, and you'll tell me how I'm failing them.
But then we go to Jaime's trial, and I think here we're going to see a huge split among what people think should happen to Jaime. And I think the majority of people will want Jaime spared, and I think in this situation, Daenerys could look like the bad guy. And in these situations, she has to be careful because power in the North is very delicate, and she's been reminded that over and over again. She has to earn their loyalty. And I think this scene is going to provide contrast to how Daenerys deals with prisoners and how Jon deals with prisoners. And it will either reaffirm how people feel about Daenerys or change their minds. And we see everyone set up in the Great Hall. Daenerys is seated in the center because she is now queen, Jon and Sansa on either side. And there's Daenerys' people on the left and Jon and Sansa's people on the right. And I think based on the room, it paints a clear picture that there are two different political sides. But I think the interesting aspect of this scene is that it will show a mutual agreement between the majority of people in the room, even though they're separated by their political allegiances. And Daenerys goes on about how Viserys would tell her a bedtime story about the man who murdered their father and the things that they would do to that man. And here it's very clear that Daenerys is emotional. Jaime is the man who murdered her father. But I think in terms of that story, there's a lot of context that's going to be shared throughout this scene. And on top of that, Daenerys is defending her father, but also he's one of the most hated men in Westeros history. There is not one person who respect or loved the Mad King. Only Daenerys. On Daenerys' team, Varys thought the Mad King was vile, and Tyrion only wants the best for his brother. So Daenerys' own party disagrees with her emotions, and are almost hoping and praying that she doesn't make a rash decision. And then on Jon and Sansa's side, you have Brienne, who's become very good friends with Jaime, and it's clear that she has an impact on him.
We both saw that thing.
Yes, and I'm not looking forward to seeing more of them. So I'm loyal to the Queen, and you're loyal to Sansa and adult brothers.
Oh, fuck loyalty.
Fuck loyalty.
This goes beyond houses and honor and oaths. Talk to the Queen.
This goes beyond loyalty. This is about survival.
So I think this scene is going to play a lot like when Daenerys burned Randall Tarly and Dickon Tarly. Everyone will be nervous about what decision she will make. They will disagree with her opinion, and Daenerys' own council will be nervous on how she will react. So I know in this room, emotions are high. Sam is probably sitting in the background furious because Daenerys killed his family. Tyrion is sitting there worried that the same thing might happen to him that happened to Sam. Because if you don't support Daenerys, then you will die, and she's proven that. And I think she'll be faced with a huge decision because Jaime will not bend the knee. Jaime will not support her. Jaime came in immediately saying fuck loyalty. He's not looking for Daenerys to be his queen, he's looking to help fight the army of the dead. And I think this is going to create a huge divide because Daenerys demands him to bend the knee, and he just won't do it. And that harkens back to how Jon will feel. Sam pointed out last episode that Jon let all the wildlings south of the wall even though they didn't bend the knee and swear fealty to him. And in this very moment, that is what the North needs. That is what Westeros needs. A leader who takes people in, not because they blindly follow. And I think as the scene goes on, Daenerys will get more set in her ways of having to kill Jaime, whereas everyone else in the room will seem to go in the opposite direction. Tyrion looks very concerned, like he's worried about the decision that his queen will make. And this is the first decision where it directly affects him. Him and Jaime have a very tight bond. And at this point, Tyrion isn't sitting here as a hand of the queen, he's sitting here as a brother. And then we see Sansa looking very content, and she's very good at looking content. And Daenerys looks at Sansa, almost with a concerned look. And I think what this look represents is, holy shit, you were right. I think in this moment, Jaime is gonna stand among everyone and tell them that he came north without the Lannister army because Cersei decided to stay home. And she decided to recruit the Golden Company. And she decided to let the White Walkers take out them while she lays her claim to the Seven Kingdoms. So I think here Daenerys realizes that she was wrong. Because we know Daenerys feels one way about it, Sansa feels directly another. I think Sansa has respect for Jaime for many reasons. First of all, Jaime is here. He betrayed Cersei to go to the north to help fight for them. But I think what we'll also hear is Brienne speak, and she'll tell everyone how Jaime did the honorable thing and betrayed Cersei's wishes to have Brienne rescue the Stark girls. The reason why Sansa is there today is because of Jaime. And I think Jaime or Brienne could voice the story of why Jaime's the Kingslayer. How mad Daenerys' father is. How he wanted to burn everybody in the Red Keep and all of King's Landing. And I think that story will speak volumes to who the Mad King was, but also to Daenerys because she's sitting there defending him. And if everyone is sitting there in the Great Hall looking at their future queen, defending the actions of a man who wanted to genocide thousands and thousands of people, that doesn't really garner support. But then we also see Bran sitting there, and I think Bran is going to come forward and say something too. And I think that's why Jaime gives a very dramatic look like this. And that is because I believe Jaime is looking directly at Bran, and I think Bran is sitting right next to Sansa. And I think Bran is going to reveal that Jaime did push him off the tower. But what the point of him saying that is that it led to who Bran is today. That's why Bran referred to him as an old friend last episode. I don't think Bran has any hard feelings. He can't have any feelings. The guy's basically emotionless. But he understands that Jaime's actions did pave the way to who Bran is. Jaime's actions paved the way for Sansa being alive. So I think at the end of this, the verdict is going to be everyone is against Daenerys and how she feels. And Daenerys is playing a losing battle. Jaime won't bend the knee so she can kill him. It has her retain her power, much like she's done to other people. Or she could pardon Jaime and accept that he's not going to support her as queen, which is huge. But it also tarnishes the respect that people would have for her. But I think we could see a dramatic sequence where Daenerys wants to move ahead and possibly kill Jaime, and there will be uproar from Tyrion, there will be uproar from everyone. And I think this may be a scene where Jon might stand up to Daenerys. Because I think in this moment, Jon is going to be in his head about him being a Targaryen. He's going to be in his head about what Sam told him, saying that Jon has the power of forgiveness.
But what I can forgive, I do.
And this trial is a huge example because it is an actual representation of what Sam was talking about. Jon let thousands of people live because they didn't bend the knee. And Jaime is here to Daenerys not bending the knee. I think this will kind of paint a picture in Jon's mind of who Daenerys is and what kind of leader she is. And it may result in Jon speaking up. And I think at the end of this trial, Daenerys is going to begrudgingly let him live. But because of that, people are going to respect her less as a queen. And I think what happens in the trial bleeds into the next scene of Jon being in the crypts of Winterfell. And I think he's legitimately upset with Daenerys, and I think that's part of the reason why she goes down into the crypts to speak with him. Based on the angle, I think that Jon is actually standing in front of Lyanna Stark's statue. Probably because he's paying respects and obviously coming to terms with the news that he found out recently. And I think this scene is going to have one key purpose. And that's for Jon to talk to Daenerys to try and understand her as a queen and as a leader. Sam raised a lot of concerns previously with Jon's discussion with him. And I think Jon's going to question Daenerys on why she forgave Jaime and why she behaved the way she did, and ask questions about the things that she's done in the past, like killing Sam's family, and why that was a legitimate decision to get her where she is today. And then I think the discussion will go in the direction of what Sam said to Jon. Jon now has more of a legitimate claim to the throne than her. But the question is, if he speaks that truth, will Daenerys flock to support him, or will she stand her ground and fight? And I think the latter is true, and I think Jon knows it. Daenerys will not back down. She will not sacrifice her crown. It's been what she's been working toward her whole journey. And I think that leads to another concern that Jon is going to bring up. In the last episode, Daenerys was telling Jon about Sansa, and how Sansa is not respecting her, and how Sansa must respect her because Daenerys is the queen. And I think Jon is going to bring that up and ask, what if my sister doesn't respect you? Are you going to kill her? Because I think that's the key difference between these characters. Because to Jon, disrespect doesn't matter. That's your own opinion. Jon led the Night's Watch and half the people disrespected him. But Jon was still the chosen ruler. So I think this trial is going to be eye-opening. Much like how Jaime is the brother of Tyrion and he was under trial, Jon is now worried about his sister being under trial. And I think Jon's family ties are going to be the most important thing to get him through this. And I think that this scene will end, and I think it's most likely that Jon will tell Daenerys that he is a Targaryen. And I don't think it's a smart decision, but I think that it's the honorable decision. And I think that's what Jon will do. He will tell Daenerys that he's a Targaryen because it is the truth, and he wants to tell her straight up. He's not going to conspire behind her back. And I believe in this scene, he doesn't even know if he wants to. He probably still might want to support Daenerys. But I think he's going to bring it up to her out of honor. And Daenerys is going to take that secret and do what she will with it. And I think that goes into this scene, where Daenerys seems clearly upset, and her council is standing there looking like they don't know how to even deal with her, with Varys, Jorah, and Tyrion. And I think this is where she will tell her close associates that Jon is a Targaryen. I think Tyrion will worry about what that means politically and maybe take Davos up on that marriage proposal. But I think Varys may take that information in a different way and may approach Sansa and conspire against Daenerys. But this scene with Jorah and Daenerys could very well be about Daenerys' concerns about Jon being a Targaryen, but it could also be about her feeling like she's losing grip of the North. But then that goes into the second concept of this episode, and that is the survival aspect of it. Tormund, Beric Dondarrion, and Dolorous Edd are going to arrive at Winterfell with news that the Night King has totally decimated the last hearth and makes his way to Winterfell. So I think we'll have a quick, very nice reunion between these characters. But because of this news, we see Winterfell preparing for the Night King's arrival. There are armies running around Winterfell. They're testing artillery in the trebuchets. We see Gendry in the blacksmith area rushing, making sure weapons are made, organizing the dragon glass. We see that Jon looks shocked in Winterfell. I'm not necessarily sure why. I guess it's a shocking scenario. But one thing that may be shocking is Theon may arrive, because he did choose to fight alongside the Starks. And Theon's loyalty here is key, because the only thing tethering the Greyjoy fleet to Daenerys is Yara and her support. If Theon had the choice, I think he would choose the Starks and he would choose Jon, because they are his family, and families must bound together, much like what Arya said in the last season. So Theon is yet another character who represents another family who could shift ties and support one Targaryen over the other. But then we see these preparations go into the night. We see Arya shooting arrows at the dark, and I think that she's really just preparing. I think Arya's character arc is she puts on a really strong front, and it's the same thing with the Hound. She protects herself emotionally. But the reason why she's practicing is because she's terrified. And I think we'll see that fear come to the surface during the battle for Winterfell. And I think this is going to be a unique episode, because usually the way battle episodes work is they build up the battle for the first 20 to 30 minutes, and then they have the battle, and then they have the fallout of the battle. It seems like in episode 2 they're actually going to prepare for the battle, and then episode 3 will be all battle and any other revelations that they have planned. Because we also see Jorah riding, almost positioning himself in the front lines. And he has Heartsbane, which is Sam's family sword, and we see him unsheath it in another scene. And I think this holds huge significance. I think Sam is going to give this sword to Jorah because Jorah is a true friend, and Sam has no family left. Sam is no fighter, and he can't uphold the Tarly name. But I think the key reason he gives this gift is because of his hate for Daenerys. And I think he hates and doesn't understand why Jorah follows her. And I think Sam will give Jorah this sword because of the common sense reasons that Jorah is a fighter, but also because of what it represents. Heartsbane means pain or discomfort in the heart, distress or annoyance in the heart. And I think Sam is feeling that right now. He has Heartsbane because his family has been killed. Jorah himself has Heartsbane because Daenerys never loved him. So I think this is going to be an overhanded gift with the frustration that Sam has of Jorah supporting the person who murdered his family. But then finally we see a couple groups of people standing over the battlements of Winterfell, including Tyrion, who sits there at nighttime and waits for the Night King's arrival. And I think we'll see it. I think this sequence is going to be the last shot of the episode, and it's going to leave us in anticipation for the battle for Winterfell in episode 3. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'll be back with more videos, but until next time, I'll see you guys later.